Hello everyone, it's Teo Shante Plans and welcome back to my YouTube channel. In this video, I'm going to be sharing how I created this spread using the Sweet Planners Beige Fall Kit. And the formatting and layout of this spread was completely inspired by a spread that I did back in July using the April Mystery Kit from Sadie Stickers, which was this koi themed kit. And this was the first time I'd ever done a format this way in my planner, where I've got this scene going across the center, making it really the focal point of the spread. And when I did this spread, I was not filming for YouTube at the time. I was taking a break over the summer, which I absolutely credit with me becoming way more creative in my planner than I had been this year prior to the break that I took from YouTube. It really helped me find a side of myself and my creativity that I've really enjoyed putting into my planner. But I loved this spread. It was so unique and so different from anything I had ever done before. And I really wanted to share the techniques, the inspiration, like the ideas and the concept, what I did to create this spread, because it's not like you just have to have this one specific kit. Obviously, if you want to create this really fun pond scene, it helps to have this kit because it has the images. But the techniques of creating a scene and how you would then plan around it is something that is adaptable across lots of different types of kits. And that was what I wanted to show with this spread, that you could take that same technique, apply it to a different type of kit that has a completely different type of theme, and still come up with something that's got a similar result and similar formatting. And that's the thing I really enjoy about what I've been doing lately, playing around with the different types of formats that I've been using. And so this one is definitely one of my favorites. I consider it like a go-to specialty type format. And when I say format, so like what I consider sort of my base format at this point would be doing a spread like this, where I've got my full boxes. I'm typically using an A5 wide kit when I do spreads like this, and I just place my full boxes standard inside the columns and totally normal, right? This is to me what I consider just like a standard formatting for my kits. And then when I do things that I consider like more specialty formatting, where I may angle the full boxes, I consider this a step up from my base of regularly just setting them straight in the columns. And then I think another deviation from that is definitely this style, where I'm doing the scene across the center. And then what I've been doing lately with the Hobonichi, when I'm using a Hobonichi kit rather than using an A5 wide kit, where I can play with the boxes across the center. And so those have been kind of my go-to formats at the moment. With when I sit down and think about what I'm going to do with my planner, my first thought is, how do I want to format it? Is it going to be just like a standard format, or do I want it to be a specialty? And sometimes what's happening in that week will influence it. Most of the time it's the kit itself that will influence it. Using a kit from the Sweet Planner is so fantastic because she does such an amazing job with her dashboard add-ons and deco add-ons, and where you get these incredible images. And that is always the inspiration for me when I'm creating a scene. It really comes down to a kit having really good clip art and strong images where there's a scene to create. And when I saw this kit, I was like, there's definitely a scene here. Let's see if I can put it on the page. Also, I definitely want to say it's difficult and scary when you step outside of your standard format, especially for me. When I'm working on these types of spreads, oftentimes as I'm getting started and working on them, I start putting down stickers, and I'm just hoping with each sticker I put down that it's going to come together. It's like putting together a puzzle, but you don't have the box with the picture of what the puzzle is supposed to look like. And so that is a lot of what goes into this. It was definitely how I felt the first time when I was doing it back in July, because at least this time I had had the experience of doing this one. So I knew where I was trying to go. And that can be scary if you step out and try something new or try a different format in your planner. I would say, just to encourage you, try it. It can end up being amazing. And then there are sometimes when things don't go right, where I try things and I have to lift them up, and that's okay too. But yeah, I had so much fun planning this. Absolutely wanted to share these techniques with you guys, and I hope that you find this inspiring and helpful when you are planning. So if you want to see how I put this together, just keep watching. To start this spread, I am thinking about putting down a framework and getting an idea of spacing and placement for everything. So I wanted to first start by putting down my bottom washi, and then I am creating the sections for this center scene. And so I knew I wanted to use the top strip of bottom washi to be to sort of outline the scene that I was going to use. I put down the first strip, and what I'm using are the coil rings to help me line up and make sure that those lines are even on each side of the page. So I was counting the coil rings just to know where to place that bottom strip. And then I have this washi strip. These are from Paper Trail Plans, and they're washi strips. They come in 3 different sizes. I chose the smallest size, and you can see me here. I'm going to turn my coil around because, again, I'm using the coil rings to count and to let me know where I want to place that. Sticker, and then that way I can line it up next to the same exact coil ring on the other page, and that way I know I have it even on both pages. So I found that to be really, really helpful as I was doing this and trying to figure out where I wanted to place things. And then I'm taking the fashion doll from the deco sheet, and I am using her just to double check like the amount of space that I gave myself to make sure she's going to fit and sit into that space comfortably, because I knew I wanted her to be a featured part of the scene. So I put her there just to measure, and once I confirmed that was cool, I lifted her up, started putting down the alcohol ink swatch because I knew I wanted to add a little bit of color in the background. Love that with alcohol ink swatches because they're on transparent matte paper, so you get just that light wash of color in the background. And then I'm placing down the girl next to the large bucket with the pumpkins and florals in it, adding in some more of the alcohol ink swatches around her. And now I want to pull in another large deco piece. So I decided to go with that pumpkin, just putting that across from her to kind of help balance things out. To have enough visual interest happening in that area, so that there was enough happening on like both sides of this section. And I thought that worked really well. And now I'm bringing in some of the floral deco. I wanted some coming down from the top and then tucked another one behind that pumpkin bucket. And then these are the fall wraps from Panda Bird Design. She's been doing these since summer. She had some really pretty floral wraps. Then she had the fall wraps, winter wraps. I love these. They come in these really fun squiggle shapes, and they're really fun to just sort of decorate and add a little fun element to the page. And I thought they added something really fun to this area. Now I'm just taking some of that old writing type of foiled script, and I love it because it adds a little detail to the background, but without bringing in a lot of extra color. So it's just a nice little touch to the spread. And as you can see, my cat Tiger has settled himself next to my planner. He is, he's going through a phase where like anytime I sit down with my planner now, he wants to join me. He is just now a staple part of my videos. So hi to Tiger. I am now moving on. Where I placed the girl and that bucket, I knew I had them placed so that there was a very small part of them that was hanging down below that washi line that I had set down. And I did that intentionally because I wanted to make this cut here, and you can see where I'm lifting up just the very small cut that I made. But that particular cut, just doing that, really meshed those stickers in with the washi that was already put down. And so instead of making it look as though the girl is sitting on top of that washi, it almost brings it together as though it's one sticker. And I really wanted that effect. I thought I wanted that at the top too, to make it look like her hat was underneath that top bar. But when I made that cut, I was really unhappy with it. It could have worked either way. It's not a right or wrong thing. It was definitely more of a preference thing. But when I made the cut, I was like, no, I didn't like the idea of her hat being tucked under there. I liked the visual of her sort of sitting in the foreground. And as we continue to make this scene, it's going to become more prominent. And I'll go into more detail on that as we get there. But I was really liking that. So I'm just trimming the washi with, this is the dot and dash washi strip, foiled washi strip from Sadie Stickers, and I love that little pop of foil. I think it was really perfect. I'm lifting up the girl there because I had two of the deco sheets and I had two of the girls. I was like, I don't like that cut that I made on her hat. I'm just gonna use the other girl because I had another one, and I could have left it even with the cut because I could just piece the sticker back together. It wasn't too dramatic, but I figured since I had the other girl, I'd use her. And now I am trimming the entire section. This is the taco washi, and it was a collab between Panda Bird Design and Gathered Plans. Beautiful collab. And when you see my next haul video, I stocked up on this stuff. I got so many more in all the foil colors because it is my favorite washi strip at the moment. It's so beautiful and it just looks good with so many different types of spreads. I'm obsessed. I'm a huge fan of that washi, so I definitely stocked up on a bunch more of that. Anywho, moving on to the other side, I'm going to repeat a lot of the same techniques, starting with layering the alcoholing swatches. When I was doing it on the first side, I was really trying to like figure out how I wanted this to look. And once I got that first section done, I was a little more confident going into this side of the page. I knew how to layer the alcohol ink swatches in the background to give me the look I wanted, and then bring in the larger clip art elements and add in that deco layered on top of it. And then I had the large stack of sweaters to put over here, but I didn't have another large deco piece to put on this side closer to the coil. And so what I'm doing here is creating my own large deco cluster. And I'm doing that by taking some of the sort of medium-sized clip art with the book and the lamp and the pumpkin and just layering those all together. And so they form a larger deco piece. And then I'm bringing in more of the florals, of course, to tie the florals into the spread and bring that element into this side as well. And I'm going to do the same thing with the fall wraps and with the old writing script. Oh, and then I also decided on this side, because rather than having my typical sidebar that I would do, this is essentially taking the sidebar across the center of the page. And one of the staples of my sidebar is noting the month. And so I decided to do just a large month script going through here, which was different than what I had done in my first spread that I did with the koi pond kit, which inspired this, where in that one I just put the month script smaller at the top section in the sidebar area. So you can do it either way works, but I had a lot of fun making the October month script the focal point on this side of the page. And now I'm again taking this cut and I'm doing it at the top of that bottom washi strip. And what I'm wanting to do is to make it look as though the clip art is behind that that bottom washi strip, not sitting in front of it. And so making that cut there, and then again I'm taking that Sadie Stickers dot and dash washi trim and trimming this area, and it's gonna make all of those blunt cut edges look really, really neat, polished, and finished. And that's one of the reasons why I really enjoy trimming things with the foiled line stickers, because I make a lot of those blunt cuts, but then that helps everything look very, very polished and pulled together just by trimming it with a little bit of foil. And now we have this full through line with from one page to the next where everything lines up, and it's a really beautiful scene going all the way across. And now I'm just adding in some finishing touches, some foil pumpkins, and these are the I want to say they're like the pixie clusters, I believe that's what they're called. They're like fairy dust, and they're so pretty and sparkly, and I love that little detail. I love adding clusters to a spread. I love the little touch of extra foil and sparkliness, and these are really pretty, so I had fun just sprinkling tons of these all over this part of the spread. Here's where I made a change to the bottom washi, and it was pulling in the washi strips that are on the dashboard kit. Now the dashboard kit from the Sweet Planner She and I designed those when I was using the Harriet Wright Designs planner. And so she was formatting her dashboard kits to fit the width of the boxes on the dashboard page of the Harriet Wright Designs Planner, which is shorter than the width of this spread. But I had two of the dashboard spreads, and in each one of them had two strips of this lighter colored washi strips. I knew I could just like cut it down, piece it together, and make it fit the full width of my page. And there were two things about this that made me change my mind. The original washi, which was the bottom washi from the kit, itself, it was bolder. It had a bolder floral print, and I loved that the other washi, it has the floral print, but it's much more muted, a lot softer. And you can see here at the point where the two pieces meet, I placed the large floral, so you can't see where that cut line is. On the other side of the page, I'm not going to cover up that cut line at all. And so in person, you can kind of see that it's pieced together, but it doesn't show up in pictures, and it doesn't make a huge impact. Most people wouldn't notice it looking at the spread, so it didn't bother me too much. But if having that cut line is an issue for you, you can always cover it with a flower, which is what I did on this side. Now I'm bringing in hanging sign is from a collab I did with Sadie Stickers, I think back in 2021. But I thought it would be so fun and perfect. It was like that wood grain. It was the perfect match and feel to this very farmhouse pumpkin patch themed kit, and all of the different pumpkin elements that I'm pulling into this. And so I loved it. I loved having the hanging sign. It's like pumpkins this way, and just decorating around that. I thought that was really, really cute, because in this bottom area where I would normally put the full boxes, I'm definitely not putting full boxes in this space. So I just want to add some deco to these areas, because the way that I format my spreads, I'll have Saturday and Sunday in the center, but then these side columns just get deco, which I get to then play around and have fun. And so here I am again creating another cluster utilizing those pumpkins. That sign, the pumpkin patch sign, that was from the Pretty Pink Co. And I'm bringing in a lot of foil pumpkins also from the Pretty Pink Co. She had a fabulous release for fall with tons of really beautiful foil deco. Same with Sadie Stickers. I'm pulling in a lot of her foil pumpkins and foil detail as well. I use so much Sadie Stickers in all of my spreads. I love her $2 Tuesdays, and I'm constantly shopping them. Now for the other side, because I had done the hanging sign, I didn't want to do another hanging sign, but I did want something. And I thought, I went back to the signage that I had from the Pretty Pink Co. and I was trying to figure out which one of those would fit on some of these cute little fancy boxes. And I found this one, this was like the Farmhouse Autumn. And I was like, oh, this will be really, really cute. So it was able to fit on top of that label sticker, and I put it down, and I thought it looked really, really great. So decorating that with some of the florals, and then I'm just gonna finish off the bottom washi section of the page by adding another one of those Sadie Stickers washi trims in the dot and dash print. Moving back over to the other side and putting down this floral, and then that foiled flourish is from the Pretty Pink Co. Adding in that deco there, and then of course just trimming that to finish it off. This is interesting because for this one I decided not to trim over top the pumpkins that were there. I just trimmed around it. Moving back into the scene, I am making a cut here, and this one's really important just for the visual, because when I opened up the page and was looking at the through line from the one page to the other, I realized on the other page I had cut everything so that it was sitting behind that bottom strip of washi there, but on this side of the page I had this pumpkin sitting in front, and by making this cut, making it look like it's sitting behind, it now completes that through line from one page to the other, and it makes it so the girl is the only thing in the forefront and all the other large deco in the scene is in the background. And so it creates the visual illusion of depth. In a 2D spread, you get that 3D visual because the girl looks closer to you, and larger and more in the foreground, and everything else looks pushed to the back. And so that is why I made that cut there, and it really pulled the whole scene together. I'm moving into the date cover deco area now. started by putting down some florals. I have so much happening with that center scene and with what's happening in the bottom washi, which is why I worked on those two areas first before I moved up to my date cover deco. Because what I'll tend to do if I've got that much happening in a scene and in the bottom washi, I will try to simplify and make my date cover deco area not as elaborate as what's going on, just to create some balance and so that the areas aren't necessarily like competing with each other for visual attention. And so I kept this as simple as possible. Didn't pull any alcoholic swatches, no additional color into that area. I just wanted to pull in a little bit of the floral deco, couple of pieces of clip art, keep it simple with the day scripts, which were from Paper Trail Plans, and it was the same exact modern font that matched the large October font. And so all of that coordinated and all tied together really nicely. Wanting, of course, to make sure everything coordinates and all of the elements work well with each other, but then keeping some areas a little less decorated, not undecorated. Obviously, we've got tons of flowers and cute clip art going on, but not so much that it's competing with what's happening in the scene. And this was a fantastically designed deco sheet. I had so much to work with. One of the things I really love about what's happening in the community right now, because you tend to get a lot of really great deco with a lot of the kits that we buy. And that's been true with the Sweet Planner for years. I've been using the Sweet Planner for years and have been a huge fan of her kits and her deco sheets, especially for years, because the mix of deco and floral has always been really inspiring for me. I'm going to finish off the top section by trimming it with the dot and dash washi strip from Sadie Stickers. And now I'm bringing in date dots, and these are also from Sadie Stickers. I believe these are her vintage date dots. She released those for a $2 Tuesday, but I know she's got some similar date dots in her collection, in case you're looking for date dots. But moving down to the bottom, I want to mark Saturday and Sunday. I always do Monday through Friday across the top, Saturday, Sunday down at the bottom in the center. And I added in a little bit of deco around Saturday and Sunday, and putting down those scripts. And I thought that came out really, really cute. I always know when I'm going to do a center scene across it, and especially being in my B6 planner. If you're in an A5 wide, you'd still have a lot more room than I would being in a B6 planner. I know if I'm going to do a big scene across the center, it means I'm going to have shorter area in my columns to write down my day-to-day activities, which is totally fine for me because I tend to write 1 to 2 things in my day-to-day anyways. Moving into my sidebar, I put down the large scallop circle, added in some more deco with the pumpkin and the floral and the old writing going across the top. And now I'm bringing in some of these quote strips from Sadie Stickers. She released those on a $2 Tuesday. $2 Tuesdays tend to stay up for about a week in a shop, and then the shops take them down. And it's why I try to identify them when things are $2 Tuesdays, so that if you are seeing this and thinking, oh, that's cute, I want to go get it, and then you go to the shop's website and you don't see it, you're not wondering why. Because if things are up for a $2 Tuesday after the week is gone, the listing comes down. This is why I like to point that out. But those were so cute, and they were so fun to work with because you can cut up the strips of words and create little word clusters, and it just looks adorable. Moving into the day by day, going to start marking down things. And here's where I really started to deviate from what I'd done and what my primary inspiration was in terms of the koi pond kit. When it comes to the day to day, I don't necessarily need to copy like that structure in terms of like, oh, I'm going to use a box here because I used a box on that one. I just start decorating it, and a lot of times it's just about thinking about what it is I need to write, what the icon is that I'm going to use, and what kind of spacing I want to have. And this offered a fun chance to play around with the torn paper that was on the dashboard kit, and then also had that fun torn writing script, and layering that around. That was really, really fun. And then underneath there, I put in one of the little fancy boxes, added the leaf script, and then that icon from JK Creates Co. with the grocery bag. And then moving into Tuesday, because I didn't use a quarter box in the first side, it's just a torn paper. I was like, oh, okay, I can go ahead and put a third box on this side. And as you can see here, I keep shifting it because I don't want the bottom of that box to stop at the same exact height of where that torn paper stops on Monday. I'm weird that way. I really don't like that visual when if I use a box from one column to the next, or if there's a finish line, because like both of those have a strong bottom line on Monday and Tuesday, and I can't have that line up. It drives me nuts. My brain can sometimes be super eclectic like that, and I get it. Sometimes symmetry drives me absolutely bonkers. If you are not like that and you are normal and sane, lucky you. So wonderful. You don't have this issue. Sometimes I'm like, oh my goodness, it's not that big deal. Just line it up. But then I look back at it later and I'm like, I really don't like that. So yeah, such is me. And so if you notice, if you look at my spreads, a lot of times you'll see if you just go across the columns, I try very, very hard to stagger my boxes to make sure they're different sizes. If from one day to the next, if I've used a quarter box and then like right next to it, it will be a third box or it won't be a box at all. I try to add as much variety because that's just my personal preference on visual. That's the great thing with planning. If that's not your personal preference, if you really like that, because I've seen that too, and it always ends up looking very clean and streamlined, and you get this really great continuity going across the page. And so if that's your personal preference and your style, it is a great style, and the visual effect is super striking. So it's totally up to you, like how you want to approach that, because both styles have their pros and cons, right? And bring something different to the finished and final look of the spread. I tend to be more eclectic. That's just me. Moving on to Wednesday, started with the quarter box, added the scallop deco to it, added in my icon and decorated around that. And then underneath there, I pulled in a large piece of deco, decided I wasn't going to use a box. And then I made this cut on the edge. It's one of the things I tend to do. I like to stay in the columns oftentimes. And so I'll do a blunt cut on the sides of columns if I have deco or things that hang over. I immediately regretted it for this one, and that does not always happen. A lot of times I'm really happy with making that cut. It wasn't I clearly didn't regret it enough to try to like piece the sticker back together or to change it. It didn't bother me enough for all of that, but I immediately, like, I made the cut, I lifted that the part up that I cut off, and I was like, oh, I'm sad you cut that. You could have left it. But here we are. You win some, you lose some. And I tend to take that approach with most of my spreads. I'm like, I enjoy trying new things. I enjoy stretching my creativity, and when you take chances, some things you're going to try, you're going to really like the effect of it, and some things you'll try and you'll just be like, next time I won't do that. And that's kind of my approach to that. Moving into Thursday, I started with just bringing in floral. Again, decided not to go with a box in the top six. There's my other cat, that's Midnight. So I had quite a bit of cat company in the filming and planning process of this, which, in case you hadn't noticed, you may have, my nail polish changed colors because I planned this planning of this took multiple days. I did not do this all in one planning session, and not because it took me a really long time. It was just like I plan, take some time planning after work and other things that are happening in my life. So I tend to have some time to just like sit down and plan, and then come back another day when I get time again. So but anywho, moving on to the bottom, I did end up putting a quarter box at the bottom, layered that over more of that script, and I have recently just bought like a bunch more of that. I am absolutely loving all of the fun journaling elements and details and things that I've been pulling into spreads, and I am going to continue leaning into that type of trend and those elements, because I have a lot of fun planning with them. And there's been so many fantastic new releases recently. And then if you are watching this the weekend that I upload this is Black Friday weekend, and so there's just so many fantastic new releases and beautiful spreads. I've been thinking a lot as we're coming towards the end of this year, and in doing these types of spreads where I've been able to be more creative, to step outside of my typical, what I would call my standard format in the way I was doing my spreads, where at the beginning of this year I was pretty consistent in the placement of where my full boxes were. And I mean, this is a spread where I'm not using any of the full boxes from the kit at all. And so it's a full decorative approach to it. Oh, I love that flourish that I just put down, and I'm about to lift it up because it was way too much next to that taco washi. Yikes. It was so funny because I put it down and I was like, oh no, oh no, no, no. And I try to be mindful because it's so fun and so easy to get carried away with like using different elements that I just really, really like. But I ended up switching to just that clean and simple dot and dash washi, and it was much, much better in that space. And I try to be mindful and not making things clash, because there's so many fun stickers that you can use, and I learning restraint for myself and learning how to balance things and not throw everything at the page is sometimes my biggest challenge, because there can be so many ideas that I have in my head and so much that I want to put on the page. But I've been leaning more and more into this more artistic side and more creative side. And it was funny, I was actually looking at an old plan with me of mine the other day, and I've looked at it, and I'm looking at my planner and what I'm doing now versus what I was doing back then. And I literally said to myself, you're not planning anymore. This is not a planner. And I really do feel like at this point, what I'm doing with my planner is a lot more of what I would call memory keeping, because it feels like an art journal. And it feels like almost like a scrapbook. It's really fun, and I'm enjoying being able to lean into this more artistic side of myself. And I'm hoping that this is content that still feels relatable to people who are more planner focused and who do want more functional planning, that you're able to still find something inspiring and something you can connect with my content. And then also with this one in particular, because there was such a strong positive response to that koi spread when I did that and when I posted it on Instagram, I was really looking forward to and really excited about getting a chance to recreate that technique, show how I create the scene going across the center, and help break that down for people who may have been looking at that going, okay, I don't even know how you start something like that. And I really hope this video helped break it down into like really simple steps that were easy to follow for you, and makes it seem like something that you could definitely try in your planner. That's my hope with this video, that you looked at this, it encouraged you and made you think, oh, I can definitely do that. And so I hope you were able to find some inspiration with this. I'm just about done with this spread. I'm going to go ahead and finish up Sunday. As you can see, my cat has settled himself quite comfortably next to my planner. I had to zoom out because he was not going to scoot over. And when he gets comfy and he's happy, I'm happy, and that's all that matters. So I just let him enjoy, because like that just feels so amazing. He just wants to spend time with me, and how awesome is that? So just had to zoom out so I could finish up the spread and you guys could actually see what I was doing. But I hope you all enjoyed this. And I really enjoyed planning this. It's one of my favorite spreads of this year, both of them, the koi kit and then doing this for the second time. And I'm definitely looking forward to trying this out again. I think I'm going to do this technique or this format again for like one of my Christmas spreads. So it's become such an instant favorite of mine. I just think it looks so amazing on the page. And so I've been having a ton of fun playing around with these different formats. And I'm so glad I got to share this one with you all. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you're having an amazing day, and I will see you next video. Bye.